we live? Believe it or not, I'm in the room. All right, there we go. All right, Henry McClure live. Running for mayor, but this is not a popularity contest. And I got to tell you something. I learned a lot at the Republican convention. I listened to a lot of good things. Number one, Robert's Rules of Order. And you know, the number one thing when you think about consent, you know, like an affirmative silence is consent. So think about Lawrence Bay. The people that have been silent about it up there, it's their consent to let things go on the way they did. But let's talk about the voting record. And I was out walking around this morning, and I'm seeing these common consumption things, right? And then I got to thinking about Tuck Duncan, Spencer Duncan's father, Robert Tuck Duncan, being part of the liquor lobby. And so Spencer's vote, his vote, here, hang on a second. I gotta close the door to the studio. I think I'm picking up some noise from the outside world. There. Okay. So did the vote for the common consumption benefit somebody? Yes, it did. And so this isn't a personal attack on the family. This is an attack on your voting record. Okay? So now let's talk about the voting record. Let's just start off with the hotel. Okay? So what are we at right now? 11 million, right? We're at 11 million and climbing. And here's what I think is happening. So number one, any incumbent, except Sylvia, any incumbent needs to be held accountable to the 11 million. We should have never got in the hotel business. But here's what you guys don't really, you don't know about it. When it's so hard, when you go door to door talking about voting, you know, people don't really understand, you know, how many people knew that Tuck Duncan was a lobbyist and that the common consumption thing might have helped one of his clients. That's voting record. So now we're at the hotel. The hotel has put everybody off the limits to really just say that anybody that voted for that is totally incompetent. So anybody that would vote for an incumbent that voted for the hotel is equally as incompetent. But here's what you guys, nobody can focus on this except me. 9.5 million for that AT&T building. 11 million, 9.5 million. So the AT&T building, which I haven't even received the lease yet from the landlord, who is AIM Property Strategies, eventually Cody Foster. We actually, the taxpayers are paying an NGO called Go Topeka to lease the AT&T building to be a perpetual machine for giving away money. Think about that. voting record. JEDO, Joint Economic Development Organization, JEDO is running out of gas because the road projects that we voted for, we don't have enough money to even do those. And where this money's coming from and what it's going to be used for, it's totally unfair. It is totally unfair. And here's another thing. The Go Topeka organization sat there and said for the Wolf's camera that the same thing that's going to go in the AT&T building, this is maybe 4 years ago, was going to go in the Wolf's camera. And the taxpayers of Shawnee County paid $1 million. $1 million. So we're at $10.5 million. And the reason the BioRealty guy, the reason he said that the deal didn't work at the Wolf's Camera was because the Go Topeka organization didn't provide the deals. So there wasn't a market for it. So they weren't successful over 4 years at $1 million in rent, and then they go commit another $9.5 million for the AT&T building. And we don't have a lease yet. Do you know how irresponsible it is in a landlord-tenant relationship, even if it's an NGO, to not have a lease and be under construction? But it doesn't matter to these people because money's not an object. But here's the thing. If this AT&T deal was so good, why didn't it stand on its own? So you got an $11 million hotel, and then you got a $10.5 million thing that's going to go on in perpetuity. These alone. And then we can look who hired Steve Wade. Look what happened there. So these aren't personal attacks on a family. These are voting records. And how any incumbent is going to get reelected, and then this is just the tip of the iceberg. I've had enough politics today. I'm still really disappointed in kind of what happened to a friend of mine, the Doug Billings incident in Kansas City at the Republican office. And although I got an apology just because I was the guy bringing it up, but I also got a comment from Linnell about that some of my issues raise a lot of red flags, and sometimes it's hard to point back to one link. So like Molly Howie sent me an email that I published on my blog, and it shows over $1 million in gifts that she's just given away to charities. So Go Topeka so they spend about $3.8 million in overhead. So to run Go Topeka, you're spending $3.8 million in salaries, travel, this and that, to administer a $5 million contract. And now, how in God's green earth that makes sense to anybody? But if nobody on the council is not jabbering about it, silence is consent. But also Jetto votes for it. But who's down there? Who's down there? Where's Joe Ledbetter when you need him? So there's all sorts of gift money. Who would hire in business a person, or what town should hire an organization to give away money? And I'll tell you who does it. We do in Topeka. So then what they do is they're buying love. It's no different than prostitution when it comes to buying votes. So you buy that love, you give money all these people, and then all these people, ooh, well, we're beholden to them. They're such good people. They gave us this money. Ooh. Well, what about our roads? And somebody really nice out on X, I'm gonna get my platform written down for the streets, which will include the transparency of the MTPO and public involvement. I'll get a platform put together. But I've had enough for today. I'll tell you, there isn't anything more important than the Citizens Commission. Having a Citizens Commission is so important because it engages all of Shawnee County. We have to put that together. But what worries me more than anything is voter fatigue. I'm finding out very early from my first Republican convention, this is not a spectator sport. This is a battle. And I'm not bringing up dirt on the family. What I'm bringing up is a voting record. Hey, cheers. It was fun meeting you and your husband up at the convention. And I've gotten more information on why Doug didn't talk at all the meetings. And hopefully we'll get this all worked out. But getting information out to people about all this, the Capital Journal isn't, or the mainstream media isn't reporting on it. Why should they? My biggest takeaway from the convention was our schools and the importance of getting people to be on the school board, conservatives. And really, when you think about, in Topeka and Shawnee County, we're still devastated by Brown versus Board of Education and white flight. And we need to make 501 school district a place that it should be the model school district. And people, when I tell you, as being a McClure, and I brag about my grandfather being on the school board, said, then later on having an active role on the school board, integrating the schools, and later on to have a school named after our family here in town. There are actually black families that have said to me, you screwed it all up. We enjoyed the way it was. We didn't want to have to go to school with white people. And that's a real shocker. Yeah, I hope to chat again soon too. I want to see Doug Billings as our next governor. I've had enough for today. That's a lot of money. I thought it was wrong today to spend $3.5 million on Huntoon today, because I don't believe there was enough public involvement to agree to shrink Huntoon down. But Bartlett and West got their contract. Do you realize that we have spent, years ago, we spent $2.5 million on a full set of architectural plans to connect 37th and Gage to 41st and Wanamaker. That was just wasted money. Fraud, waste, and abuse right within the city of Topeka. Also, thank you, Dr. Robert, our city manager, made time for me on Friday. And, I made a comment about him hiring more assistants. The jab was meant to be at the city, not the system before he got there. Because what Steve Wade did is unbelievable. Bringing all these new people in, and he didn't know anything about running a city either, whatsoever. And what the Four Horsemen did, and the city attorney to a friend of mine, that's not cool. This town, what's under the fingernails of this town is disgusting. Back in the day, the way they used to run Topeka, somebody who was against me would, back when I was tipping it, they'd hang outside my favorite bar, just wait for me to leave. So they'll figure out a way to come at you. Now, I will tell you, if I do make it through the primaries, all bets are off. Because after talking to the twins, they make a lot of sense. The Cars, they said, Henry, campaign contributions are an expression of free speech. So I think if I make it through the primary coming up, then I'll rethink the financial aspects of the campaign and ask a treasurer to come in and then do my best to win it. A lot going on. Henry McClure Live. The biggest challenge I have personally is let's go to the riverfront right now real quick. Let's go down to the riverfront. Greg Schwert is a very talented guy, and I like him. He's funny. I mean, personally. I mean, in his own, I mean, he kind of laughs at me sometimes because he understands me. Kind of like Mr. Klossman, Jimbo. I mean, I've dealt with the Greg Schwertz my whole life. I've dealt with guys like Jim Klossman my whole life. And But now I'm a fan of the riverfront because the city of Topeka has screwed the pooch so bad, now they're standing there holding the bag. There's nothing to do. As I was talking to the city manager Friday, I said, look, let's just put a plan together. Let's use my uniform development agreement idea. Let's have the plan in place. And we do it backwards. We come up with the nice designs and stuff. Look, we know that Greg can come up with great plans to sell the deal, but we need to have the economic plan in place to where you don't have to go through this city to get a plan done every time. There's so many people that don't want to come here because they don't want to deal with the city. What city takes 2 years to get a Pizza Hut permit, but they won't fire Forrester, Hug, or Driver? You know, fire somebody got to go. The people holding us back. Sometimes you got to cut somebody loose. But if we had a plan in place that, hey, look, we're going to follow state law when it comes to TIF. We're going to follow state law when it comes to CID. Hey, and that's another thing. Spencer is not a fan of CIDs. Well, I think CIDs are the answer to development. Community investment districts where you add a little more to the sales tax, and it incentivizes, you give some of the CID to the either the tenant or the guy that buys the property. The developer has to share that to lure the guy to come. So you get the new blood in Topeka because you shared part of your development fees. And then RHID, here, I got the whole plan. Let's just lay it out right now. You take every property in the land bank, you take every vacant property, you take everybody that's got a readiness to serve, you take everybody that hasn't paid taxes on their property, you take everything, every piece of vacant real estate for housing, and RHID qualifies for it. And you have a uniform, it's automatic. So then immediately, everybody that's got land, the RHID, you're pre-qualified for it. And all you have to do is follow state statutes. Because look, you don't want to be the person coming back to our city begging for something. And there are people on that city council that won't give you deals just because they won't give me deals because I'm Henry McClure. And look at it. Where's that little Israel fella from Go Topeka? The guy, the diversity, equity, and inclusion guy. And I told him, I said, hey, old white guys sometimes qualify for this. Because I'm not a member of the NGOs or the chamber, and I refuse to pay to play. So, hey, I get what I deserve. And they feel I deserve nothing. But here we go. Let's see if we can get this going. I've asked for the notes. I want the meeting minutes. And Joe Ledbetter reminded me the other day that you can get the meeting minutes from Go Topeka. Do you know that before the JETO meetings, the Go Topeka board meets and decides what gravy they're going to skim off the top of the taxpayers and then who they're going to give it to? But do you know the common Joe Mr. John Q. Henry McClure can't walk into that. That board meeting is closed to the public. And that's no way to do business. There's no transparency. I wrote an open records request for Lawrence Bay, and I wanted to know all this stuff. I got a comment back. It's going to be $1,400 to have them do all the research, and then they still get to pick and choose what they're going to give me at the end of the day. Bullshit. I'm not going to do that. Tyler, I see you got a lot of stuff, baby, up there. You're making a lot of comments. I want to try to get Tyler Jaggers in here, and I also want to go over to Tyler's house. He's into this home farming, and I like that kid. He's a good guy. He's a kid, young man. I was telling somebody, I want to be a city father now. So my resume, talk to my daughter. Bianca Bentley on McClure is my resume for whether I'm responsible or not. Hey, how are you as a father today? But everything I'm talking about today, it's all about voting record. It's not personal. Hey, I had Spencer on the show. Spencer Arm's Length is a good guy. He's a family man. His mom and dad did their best to raise him right. So that's the show tonight. I got to get the right camera angle. The camera's up too high. But I think having a high camera angle is good for Topeka. Go down to where the chamber and the Go Topeka people are, up on the 6th and 7th floor. I think their annual rent there, they pay $217,000 in rent. I just think too many politicians have never been broke. And any elected official should live broke, because you don't have any money. You have zero money. You're spending the taxpayers' money. And I've mentioned names and people, but you know something, it's all relevant, because it's all around taxpayer money. You don't have any business about bringing up what guy's personal business makes, because that's their own business. But once it becomes taxpayer money, hey baby, it's open game. And your voting record is the biggest, most open game. So that's Henry McClure Live tonight. If nobody's told you they love you, I do. I love y'all. Good night. Sleep tight. As they say, don't let the bed bugs bite.